Okay, and we are live. Okay, what's up, guys? Your name is the same, Butter Toast. It's still Butter Toast. Anyways, can you guys hear me well? Am I clipping? Anything like that? Um, from my end, it looks pretty good. Uh, cool. So, this is going to be, I think. Don't clip, Nathan. This is going to be. Yo, what's up, Philippon? Thank you for joining once again. Make sure to smash that heart button. I actually don't know what TLDR means. What does TLDR mean? But probably. Give a short too long to read. No, this is gonna be like an hour-long stream, and you guys are gonna. I mean, I'm gonna like summarize things. I'm not gonna just like blast you guys with like articles. Um, Here's what we're covering today, guys. Okay, and I don't know the answers to these questions. I'm actually really freaking curious. So, who first diagnosed ADD/ADHD and why? Did they have a conflict of interest? Perhaps were they involved with the pharmaceutical companies? Um, like when was it registered in the DCIM? And when was it discovered? Like I kind of wonder how it was discovered because every time like there's someone has a little bit of a weird quirk or something like that, they're like, oh yeah, you have ADD. Oh, you can focus really well. That's a sign of ADD. Oh, you have trouble focusing. You have ADHD. Oh, you do this when you're talking to. You have ADHD. And there's like so many little. It's like Jesus Christ. Now, in the first diagnosed ADD/ADHD thing, did it correspond to a patent made by, I don't know, GlaxoSmithKline that were that that treated this modality? Like, was there a reason to attempt to confirmation bias oneself into figuring out a disease in order to treat it? How many Americans are diagnosed as having ADD/ADHD? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's like last time I looked, it was like 40%, which is a lot of people. Okay, what are the symptoms and do they contradict each other? Why don't other countries recognize this mental disorder more? And why aren't they treating it like we do? Is this pharmacology, pharmacokinetics based on or mental disorders, their diagnosis? Is what findings and insights? We're gonna do the findings and insights that this is an adventure together. We're going to discover them together, Kosi. is the pharmacology, pharmacokinetics based on the mental disorders, their diagnosis? Well, I can tell you we know very little about the brain, and most of the time, things that we give people are just shots in the dark. And it's kind of like an interplay of psychology and physiology. Like, what makes more sense? Yeah, yeah. The thing about autism, it's like, oh, you're just neurospicy, autistic. Yeah. Yes, they all want us to be cracked out on amphetamines and watching TikTok. So, this is coffee. I do wonder what the world would be like without coffee. Actually, before coffee, people were getting drunk a lot. Anyways, to my, I want to show you guys this article. Yes, Adderall is just speed. It is amphetamine. Amphetamine is speed. Um, yeah. All right. I'm gonna look away from chat for a bit. I want to show you guys this article. This is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite one, articles that I found. Basically, they gave the same student uh, two different videos that they watched. One student or one person, they gave Star Wars. They had watched Star Wars for 10 minutes. And then they had the same person watch a video about mathematics, like imaginary numbers, for 10 minutes. What do you think happened here? What happened was that the guy who was watching Star Wars was obviously a lot more attentive than the guy who was watching the math video. New research shows lack of motivation or boredom with school isn't to blame for the differing behavior. It turns out that symptoms of attention ADHD, such as fidgeting, foot tapping, and chair swiveling, are triggered by cognitively demanding tasks like school or homework. Well, I mean, yeah, they're kind of stressful. But movies and video games don't typically require brain strain. Nonetheless, I mean, if you're watching Dune or Game of Thrones, do you feel like you need to take Adderall so you can focus on the plot? I'm not Ethan. Who is Ethan? Next up, okay, let's dive into the history of ADD. By the way, guys, if you don't know already, I'm biased against Adderall and amphetamines and the entire American pharmaceutical system. That was covered in part 1. So, who first diagnosed ADD, ADHD, and why? Well, I think we might find some interesting things here. Oh, okay, we have like a timeline. Okay, so here is a timeline of ADHD and like when it started, when it kind of started. This dude in 1775, German man, contained a description of ADHD-like behaviors, the first ever such description in medical literature. Waker described many of the symptoms now associated with the inattentive dimension of ADHD in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. An inattentive person won't remark anything but be shallow everywhere. He studies his matters only superficially. This just sounds like someone who's bored. His judgments are erroneous, and he misconceives the worth of things because he does not spend enough time and patience to search a matter individually or by the piece with the adequate accuracy. I think it's kind of interesting that this dude's writing this in 1775 when, you know, there's no magical pill for someone to take. Such people only hear half of everything, and they memorize or inform only half of it, or do it in a messy manner. According to a proverb, they generally know a little bit of all and nothing of the whole. And this guy's really bashing these people. The inattentive person. He is to be separated from the noise or any other objects. He is to be kept solitary in the dark when he is too active. This easily agile fibers are to be fixated by rubbing, cold baths, steel, mineral oils, horseback riding, and gymnastic exercises. I think this is these are kind of a good, just kind of a good recommendation if you're having some difficulty focusing. Every impression seems to agitate the person. Okay, let's get the fidgets. It's so interesting. Okay, I think this part's interesting as well because they're trying to cram. It's like they're trying to cram things down these people's throats still back in 1774 just so they can learn things when maybe that's not their natural, that's not their natural tendency. Thank you, UFO Pulse. You're here to learn, not be entertained. Give you a series of lectures. You describe 43. I would point out the notable feature in many of these cases of moral defect without general impairment of intellect is a quite abnormal incapacity for sustained attention. Huh. Okay, so I guess I learned something. Certain symptoms which did not fit into the norm have been described throughout history. So it looked like, okay, once they had was it the Spanish flu? and people have brain damage just like they had from COVID. The association of symptoms similar to ADHD in the surviving children eventually led later authors to speculate that whenever the behavior pattern may be present, it may reflect an underlying disturbance of or damage to the brain. But this is just after the disease. In 1980, DSM-2 introduced the term ADD, with or without hyperactivity. In 1968, all right. Yeah, sure. I can do a Q&A after this. And yeah, like UFO Pulse. It's. I mean, when you're going through some like dense stuff. Uh, I mean, my brain's working like really fast right now to try to digest this and bring it to you all. Yeah, they're right here, Kosi. Okay, so the first person who diagnosed this, like, I guess, thing, which I think could kind of just be boredom, but this it's kind of hard to say. This guy really kind of hates on them, though. What I want to get to is down here. I think this is where the juicy stuff starts to occur. Because pharmaceutical companies start to come into play. And yes, like, I have this stream on ultra low latency, so like I want you guys to be able to like ask questions and stuff like as quickly as you can. Trauma is the reason for ADHD, ADD. Trauma with people trying to shove things down other people's throats that in like the teaching system. I mean, have you ever heard of like a Montserrati school? All right. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. Let's make sure we're kind of sticking to. So, okay, did the people have a conflict of interest in when they like kind of first diagnosed ADD, ADHD? I think that's important to find. Um, because whoever added this to um, the DSM. I mean, if something's in the you can't treat something that isn't in the DSM. The DSM is the manual of all like known mental or just disorders in general. I would like to know who While individual contributors to specific diagnoses in the DSM are not generally not named, the DSM was a collaborative effort of a group of. Okay. Okay, then I think something easy to do here would be to search hyperkinetic disorder in Google Scholar, because whoever so the first, basically, like, some of the first people that pop up, not everything, I mean, it didn't just ChatGPT didn't just give us like BS there, it gave us some clues. So this is from Wikipedia. I want to see sort by date. Where are we at? Sort by date again. No, not that way. Okay. A study of experimental methods for teaching emotionally disturbed, brain damaged, retarded readers. And what we're kind of looking for here. I don't even see a hyperkinetic disorder. Okay, here's one dude. Research child psychiatrist. Okay, okay. So this dude wrote this. So this is probably the guy who was the main person that added ADD or ADHD to the DSM, meaning that it could then be treated. So I'd like to know a lot about this guy. Imprimine, interesting. So first off, I can't get the PDF. So this dude starts. Why were cool on experimental treatments? On the children of Lake Alice overlooked. I guess they were trying to make children not retarded or something. Ooh, this is getting rough. Let's go back to what he is known for. Specifically, methylphenidate here. Yes, my name is Nathan. Okay. Colombian coffee. God, this is strong. Dude, I drank this coffee last night, and last night I just started running sprints around the track. Okay. I don't know the caffeine count in it. Okay. I mean, it's reasonably strong. Um, the thing is that it said that he did research on methylphenidate, and I want to try. Oh, okay. But I'm pretty sure it was this thing and a group of other people that got it added to the DSIM originally. Um, what I will be curious about is where are we at? Where are we at? Where did my ChatGPT go? Benzedrine. Okay. ADD went back all the way to like 1955. This I don't know what a flavor chaser is, but it sounds tasty. Okay, Benzedrine was manufactured by GlaxoSmithKline. It's kind of weird here that there's a gap. Okay, so one thing we can take away from this is it was already somewhat known that I guess some people had difficulty paying attention, and then the wars happened, and people started taking Benzedrine, which was manufactured by GlaxoSmithKline, and it just became normalized then. So this had to do with the military. So, in a way, we could all kind of say that the fact that so many so many Americans take this stuff is because of the cultural acceptance of it that occurred during the World Wars. Jack Daniels is too expensive for me right now, and it's also too famous. So Benzedrine was not actually meant to. This is so weird. When did it become? I can make the old intros. It's just they were just like no one really does those anymore. After World War II, the use of amphetamines like Benzedrine became more widespread, particularly in 1950s and 60s. During the war, soldiers were given these stimulants to combat fatigue, blah, blah, blah. By the 1950s, Benzedrine and similar stimulants began being marketed more broadly for conditions like depression, basically for everything. It wasn't until 1960s that methylphenidate and amphetamines were specifically recognized as quote-unquote effective treatment for children with behavioral disorders. And in 1968, that's when it was added to the DSM. So they didn't invent. So basically, this stuff called Benzedrine was originally just like an inhaler to open up your nose. And then people are like, oh, we could eat this. And then let's take it during the war. And I mean, I can jack the old intros from an old video and put it on there. It's kind of difficult. I mean, the channel's been a bit dead. I mean, dead for a while. And trying to get this going again is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's I'm trying to put like a lot of work into this and really get back up there and build a community again. Okay, so basically, it looks like what happened was Benzedrine. Yeah, they. I mean, yeah, modafinil is actually over the counter here in Colombia. You can order it, and some dude will just appear at your door in 5 minutes with as much as you want. It can still be abused, though. Trust me. Um, it has Adderall like effects. So, Benzedrine inhaler. And in the 1960s, GlaxoSmithKline just started kind of riding the wave as amphetamines became more and more popular after the war. And then the DSIM added it. DSIM added it. We can go back to this dude who just kind of thought people were weird. But I think he might. I, I do think that his like treatment was pretty good. War happened, became more socially acceptable. I'm working on it, Vinny. And without amphetamines this time. With her terminology. Primarily to correct factual errors and make changes to reflect recent research, ADHD was largely unchanged. Okay. Did they... There's that one dude. Interesting. Okay. I'm very curious about I mean, there's this whole back door of how pharmaceutical companies talk to psychiatrists. Like, I remember mine. They would they'll take them out to like dinner. They'll take them to these summits, and they'll pay for everything, and they'll have these like really hot girls, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is our new drug. It's Vyvanse. We cherry pick these studies to do this and this and this and this and this and this. Also, here's like a bunch of free samples. Give some to your patients and try them all out." Okay, this looks like a keeper. DSM has changed a lot. Boom. Boom. I found something, mother. Yeah, I had a friend like that too. Okay, the hypothesis that there are tight connections between psychiatrists and the pharmaceutical industry, submitted by Van OS from 2012, is supported by research. Research has shown that almost 56% of the task force members of the DSM 4 had direct ties with the pharmaceutical industry, and additionally, that 70% of the task force members of DSM 5, 70% had direct ties with the pharmaceutical industry. And it's time to so it's just everyone's just getting rich off this shit. Yeah, no, it's it's worse. Yeah, Kosi, you are right. Who knows what they do, and they do make a lot of money. Whereas here in Colombia, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Um, I want to find. So okay, did they have a conflict of interest? What we're going to do is we're going to pull up this. Where is this? Cosgrove and Burgeston, 2009. Where'd you go? Where's my bibliography? This is also going to be saved. Hopefully it doesn't explode. Damn it. Damn it. You don't have to be rich if you're in a foreign country in South America. You just have to speak Spanish. Yes, Adderall is just legal speed. Are these all the... Is the entire appendix? Cosgrove and Burgeston. We need this one. What I'm going to do at the end of this, guys, is kind of compile all these videos into like a super video. Not like a super long one, but just like a super condensed one. And then make like just like the video of it all. Kind of like, what is it? Tom something Harris or whatever. Forgot his name. Whatever. Cosgrove. Cosgrove, Burgeston, 2009. Conflicts of interest and disclosure of boom. Okay. Better find it for me. PDF. conflicts of interest and disclosure in the American. Okay. Okay. Out of the 20 CPG, what is CPG? Clinical Practice Guidelines authors. Clinical Practice Guidelines. So, clinical practice guidelines. Okay. The DSM is just like mental disorders, but there's still American Psychiatric Association, American Academy of Pediatrics, National Institute for Health and Care Excellence in the UK. Let's get back to clinical practice guidelines, which is basically like okay, you guys found someone who has this. You need to do this to them. Up to out of the 20 clinical practice guideline authors comprising the 3 practice guidelines, 90% had at least one financial relationship with the pharmaceutical industry. Well, that's interesting. None of the financial associations of the authors were disclosed in the clinical practice guidelines. 100% of the work group members 100% of the work group members for both the schizophrenia and bipolar practice guidelines were found to have industry relationships, and 60% of the work group members for MDD had that. Okay. Well, I'm gonna snap this. What is this? And let's see if we can move on to these kind of like next questions. Did the discovery of ADHD or whatever they were calling it correspond to a patent that treated this modality? Yes. Well, the thing is, like, I'm kind of using like a hybrid of everything. I can try Perplexity. Then again, are you sure that what it's saying here is incorrect? I mean, because this corresponds to what it says here. Did not coincide with an increase in pharmaceutical industry's focus on treatments for attention and hyperactivity disorders. Stimulant medications like Ritalin and amphetamines had already been developed and used for conditions. Huh. So they were prescribing me it before it was even in like the DSIM. I guess things were a little bit loose then. Yes, I am aware, Kosi. Um, all of them do that. Here, we'll try perplexity, okay? No, this wasn't a good answer. Man, these timelines are kind of like all over the place. I'm gonna have to find a little timeline somewhere. Or make a timeline. Anyways, let's move on to the next questions here. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next questions here. How many Americans are diagnosed as having ADD or ADHD? Well, let's see. Okay. An estimated 11.4% of children 3 to 7 years have ever been diagnosed with ADHD, according to a national survey of parents. 4% of American adults over the age of 18. This is untrue. Do you guys think that only 3% of the adult population in the United States? Oh, this is global. Well, okay, 3%. Globally. This just isn't. Tell me if you guys believe this, that only like 5% of people have quote unquote adult ADHD in America. What? Here we go. Okay, look at this. The percentage of females age 15 to 44 years and males age 15 to 44 years with prescription stimulant fills increased by more than 10% in 20 to 21. But also pose potential harms, including adverse effects, of course. Due to socio-economic and healthcare availability. Yeah, I wonder if there's like a reporting bias here. But I mean, it has gone up since 2017, quite a bit. How do you make? I wonder why there's a shortage. Okay. I think this is interesting. It's like, what if you do have ADHD or whatever? Europe appears to be doing behavioral work instead of just giving kids amphetamines, and people just don't like talk about it that much. That goes back to my idea of neuroplasticity. Trends in the use of prescription stimulants in the United States and territories, 2006 to 2000. Amphetamine use increased 2.5-fold from 2006 to 2017. Methylphenidate use peaked in 2012 and subsequently showed a modest decline. The consumption per municipality. Wait, so Adderall, the amount of Adderall increased by more than 250% in the United States in a decade. Total stimulant usage doubled in the last decade. Okay. I think that we have kind of answered these questions here. When it was first discovered, it's by some dude who thought people were just retarded. However, he did have some good like ideas, like if you have difficulty focusing, and just kind of like just go somewhere where you're not distracted, and go horseback riding. And cold baths, just like Andrew Huberman. When was this? Okay. Did they have a conflict of interest? Well, not the original dude, because the original, but the people who create the guidelines do have a conflict of interest. These are the guidelines your doctors are supposed to follow, and so they don't get sued. Did it correspond to, did the rise in like the use of ADHD medications correspond to a patent that treated this modality? It actually seems like the wars. Well, you had Benzedrine, and then, which was amphetamine, and that became culturally acceptable. And then more GlaxoSmithKline was like, okay, people love our super addictive drug. And that appears to, what is it, World War II ended in like 1955? That appeared to, I mean, you know, people are going to think that they, after being in a war zone or whatever, I can't imagine what it's like, but sales go up. And so they capitalize on that. And then it gets more introduced to the DSM in 1968. That doesn't completely correspond to things like the introduction of Ritalin. But they're all kind of around the same time frame. I think people start just jumping on the wagon. How many Americans are diagnosed as having ADD/ADHD? Well, it went up by from 2006 to 2000. Where are we at? Man, with all these tabs open, it looks like I'm on Adderall. From 2006 to 2000, So we can actually extrapolate this from 2006 to 2016. It went up double, 250%. So what is the ratio here? It's 2.2 divided by x. Is that right? No, that would be at 250%. And then we have x. That would be at 100. So now we can find the missing number. So, okay. From 2006 to 2016 went from 12.8 million Americans, according to this research. From 2017 to 2021, it went up 10% more. And now the symptoms are all over the place, man. Why don't other countries recognize this mental disorder more? Well, they do. It just looks like they treat it differently. Who the fuck keeps messaging me? No, I'm not on Addy. I'm not on modafinil or any stimulants. Why don't other countries recognize this mental disorder more? They are starting to recognize it more, except they treat it differently. As per my discussion on neuroplasticity and things like cognitive behavior, and maybe putting kids in the right environment, avoiding the use of drugs. Whereas in America, we have ads. Like a third of the ads are for drugs. That's a good idea, Kosi. Oh man. Fuck. Okay, I'll be right back in like 2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Looking at the shareholder, well, if GlaxoSmithKline was a public company, then okay. I'm going with ChatGPT because I didn't like Perplexity, and this is old knowledge, so I know that it knows this correctly. It's not hallucinating. So, what time frame should we look around? Because, like, if it's a public company, there could be thousands, if not millions, of shareholders. Who were the primary shareholders during the year of 1968? Maybe it has this information. Well, okay. Oh, it's a bunch of just, it's not actual people. Okay, so I have to go to the company archives. But what would I be interested in knowing? I would be interested in knowing if they have. Okay, no, they don't have that. Also, the inflation. Boom. Perhaps there's so many GPTs. Maybe I'll use Perplexity in the future. Historical data. No. Keep going. Here we go. Hey. Oh, okay. He didn't want to. He didn't want to tell me. Fuckers. Yeah, there. It's a lot of information, and there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes, which might extend beyond the work or the ability, or like my abilities to capture all of it, because there's so many actors. I do think the one study that I found about where'd it go? Where are we at? It's a study I found. No, not that. Conflicts of interest and disclosure in America's Psychiatric Association's clinical practice guidelines. Be cool to kind of try and interview one of these dudes. Nope. These are the people that are making the, like, telling people what to prescribe. Out of the there's only 20 authors for CBG, comprising the 3 practice guidelines 18 had at least one financial relationship with the pharmaceutical industry. None of the financial associations of the authors were disclosed in the clinical practice guidelines. And that also, Fab, is why we're having like several parts on this. By the way, after we finish this Adderall one, we're moving on to BioSeti. I know a lot of you guys have been really interested in BioSeti, and BioSeti is really cool. Okay, we got all these things. I haven't been streaming before. So it appears we answered our questions. Does anyone else have any questions? I'll give you guys some time to. Yeah, the questions were, well, we did our best. Who first diagnosed ADHD and why? Yeah, so I'm gonna take all this research and I'm going to make it into like a summary video that's a lot smaller and shorter, like a Tom Harris type video, and then publish that. It's just that like streaming like this kind of helps things. How can molecules become that? Space Coyote, that is not the theme of this. I will try in the future to make it so it's like, because I have to go through so much medical literature, it can get confusing. I will try in the future to kind of pick topics and stuff that are less, maybe dense. Yeah, there is an innate problem there. Which document would you like, Kosi? There's a bunch of documents. What if I could give you the DOI? Oh, this one? Okay. I can do that. multiple clones. Some research for. I mean, I'm gonna upload it to Drive, and hopefully no one just like destroys it. But there'll be history. So what I will do. Let me open a Google Doc. Looking at the doc. Let's share this to everyone in the world. And let's see how that kind of goes. How about I just like let people add maybe like comments? Yeah, I'll just let people add comments. I did want to ask you guys. So I'm thinking of making a Discord, just to kind of like keep the community kind of like going, and I pop in from time to time because I have no life. Do you guys fancy a Discord? We used to have a pretty like active one, and then there was a girl from Mexico that ruined it. It's a long story. Also, the channel kind of died. There shouldn't be a Z in childhood. Um, if I can like lock this. You know what? I'm just gonna make a copy of this and uh and let you guys just like ham on it. Yeah, SB. I mean, there was a guy back in 1977 who recommended. I guess he noticed some things with people, and he's like, just be separated from some like distractions and fixated by rubbing, cold baths, Andrew Huberman, steel powder. What the fuck? Mineral waters, horseback riding, and gymnastic exercises. That's a bit weird. But you know, back in the day, they're just like, this is what we have. Yes, they still prescribe Ritalin. When I used to take it, in Mexico I got it prescribed, and it was if you get the real stuff from the pharmacy, I mean it's pretty good. Then again, you're going down the rabbit hole if you like screwing up your life. So file, share with others. Anyone with the link can be an editor. It's 4:30. All right, I have a lot of tabs open. There is one tab I didn't get to though. The history of ADHD, a timeline. This is really good. Where's my fucking bookmarks? Well, you guys, it's been a good stream. Didn't have as many viewers as last time, but whatever. Ben, you'll have to kind of go through the entire thing. Currently, I am going to I'm going to end the stream. I'm I'm gonna make another video probably about space, and I think I'm going to open a Discord channel and hope that people don't spam it.